Good afternoon, dear boys and girls. I hope you are all fine, and I believe that the online classes are very useful to you all. Today we are going to study 6th unit, Prose, the last lesson, written by Alphonse Daudet. Let's see about the author. Alphonse Daudet, 1840 to 1897, was a French novelist and short story writer. The last lesson is set in the days of the Franco-Prussian War, 1870 to 1871, in which France was defeated by Prussia, led by Bismarck. Prussia then consists of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and part of Austria. In this story, the French districts of Alsace and Lorraine have passed into Prussian hands. Dear students, let's see the synopsis of this prose. Mother, motherland, and mother tongue are three things to be loved, respected, and preserved. Two districts of France, Alsace and Lorraine, were taken over by the Prussians during Franco-Prussian War. The Germans had a wicked plan to bring radical changes in the French culture. They ordered that German language must be taught in schools instead of French. Mr. Hamel, the school headmaster, was a great patriotic and a seasoned teacher with an experience of 40 years. He came to teach participles on the last day. He was very much grieved. Not only the regular students but also some villagers attended his last lessons in French, dressed in his best attire, with tears in his eyes. Mr. Hamel talked about the unique features of his mother tongue, French. German would be taught from the next day, so it was the last lesson in French. Dear student, let's read the lesson word by word and try to understand. This lesson is set up in the days of France-Prussian War. France was ruled by Bismarck. Prussia then consists of what now are the nations of Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. The Prussians defeated the French, and the districts of Alsace and Lorraine fell into the hands of the Prussians. The officers not only wanted the territory but dominated over the language and culture of the Germans, thus to take away their identity. So here France was ruled by Bismarck, and France and Prussian war was started, and Prussians is like Germany, Poland, and parts of Austria. So they conquered the France districts up to Alsace and Lorraine, and also the Germans wanted to erase their identity, which means they are trying to teach their own German culture and German language instead of teaching French. So this is what we are going to study in this lesson. Here the narrator narrates the lesson. His name is Little Franz. I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of scolding. He is getting ready to go to school in the morning, and also he is dread of scolding especially because M. Hamel, he is the teacher, had said that he would question us in participles. Little Franz was getting ready to go to school in the morning, and also he is going with the dread of scolding because M. Hamel had said that he would question us on participles, and I did not know the first word about them. For a moment I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. Here the narrator, Little Franz, He is trying to escape from the school. He wanted to go away from the schools and he wanted to spend away from the schools. Understand? Because his teacher Hamel have given homework to study the participles, but he didn't study. That's why is telling that he wanted to run away from the school and he wanted to spend the time in outdoors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the edge of the woods. In the morning, little Franz started, he got ready to go to school and he comes to the school. And he sees the birds were chirping at the edge of the woods, that means in the tree. And in the open field back, of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling, that means they are taking training. It was all much more tempting than the rule of participles, but I had strength to resist and hurried up to school. So he just watching out what are the things going on. I mean, the back of the sawmill, the Prussian soldiers were drilling themselves, and he was tempted to see that things. Anyhow, he controlled himself and he hurried up to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from there. The lost battles, the dropped, which means the law and order, the orders of the commanding officers. And I thought to myself, without stopping, what can be the matter now? Then, as I hurried by as fast I could go, the blacksmith and watcher, who was there with his apparent eyes, reading the bulletin, called after me, "Don't go so fast, pup. You will get to your school in plenty of time." So, their blacksmith and watcher is his apprentice. They were mocking at little Franz. I thought he was making fun of me and reached M. Hamel's little garden, all out of breath. Usually, when school began, there was a great bustle, which could be heard out in the street. The opening and closing of the desk, lessons repeated in unison, very loud, with our hands over our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. As usually, when school starts, there will be a noise. The lessons repeated in unisons, very loud, and the teacher used to open the desks and they used to rap on the table. So, this is what he is saying. But now it was all so still. But today it is very calm. It is not as usually. I had counted on the commotions to get in to my desk without being seen. But of course, that day everything had been as quiet as Sunday morning. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron roller under his arm. I had to open the door and go in before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed and how frightened I was. Blushed means ashamed. So, as usually, the school will be very busy. So, the little Franz will go cunningly and he will sit. But today, the class situation is totally different. It was so quiet, and now he will go in front of everyone to sit in his bench. So he is ashamed to go. And also he is frightened. But nothing happened. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly. So the teacher have seen little Franz, but he didn't get angry. He said kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We were beginning without you." So he says, "Just go and sit in your place, and we have started without you." They said like that. Mr. M. Hamel says like that. Then I jumped to over the little Franz jumped to over the bench and sat down at my desk. Yes. Not till then, when I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt, and the little black silk cap and embroidered that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So M. Hamel was wearing this, a beautiful green coat and frilled shirt and the little black silk cap, all embroidered. He used to wear that kind of dress for only for inspections and prize days. This is what little Franz is trying to say. Beside, the whole school seemed so strange and solemn. It was so strange and solemn, means entirely peaceful, calm. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty the village people sitting quietly like ourselves, old Hauser with his three cornered hat, the former mayor, the former postmaster, and several other besides. Everybody looked sad, and Hauser had brought an old primer, thumbed at the edges, and he held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages. So he was shocked because, as usually, the bank bench will be empty only, no one will sit. But today he is seeing all the village people have come and they have seated on the back side. So he was shocked. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted on his chair. So the teacher came, M. Hamel, and he sat on his chair. And in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Alsace and Lorraine." So M. Hamel says that Alsace and Lorraine, now it is under Germany ruler. So Germany planned to teach only Germany language and cultures. So hereafter we are not going to teach French. So this is the last class. This is what M. Hamel trying to say. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want you to be very attentive. What a thunderclap these words were to me. So when he was saying these words, people started clapping. That's like a thunderclap. Oh, the riches that was that they had put up at down all. My last French lesson, why I hardly knew how to write. I should never learn any more. I must stop there. Then, oh, how sorry I was for not learning my lessons, for seeking birds' eggs or going sliding on the Saar. My books that had seemed such a nuisance a while ago, so heavy to carry, my grammar and my history of the saints were old friends now, and I couldn't give up. So here Mr. Hamel said that this is the last French lesson. So little Franz he regrets his mistakes, that he didn't study well, he could not write well, and he says that most of the time he spends seeking birds. We also usually do know, we simply run away from the school and we seek birds and birds eggs, and we try to play in the water areas. So here also in the river Saar sliding, he used to play there. So this is what he thinks. And Mr. Hamel too, the idea that he was going away, that I should never see him again, made me forget all about his roller and how crankly he was. So he is feeling sad that he didn't study well, and also he is feeling that he is not going to see his master, Mr. Hamel, hereafter. So he was sad. Poor man, it was in honor of this last lesson that he had put on his fine Sunday clothes, and now I understood why the old men of the village were sitting there in the back of the room. So now little Franz, the narrator, have understood that. So this is the last French lesson. So that is the why Mr. Hamel is wearing a good cloth, and also the village people have come and they are sitting in the backbench. It was because they were sorry too that they had not gone to school. They are also feeling bad that they didn't go gone to school more. It was their way of thanking our master for his 40 years of faithful service and of showing the respect for the country that was theirs no more. So the people have come to uh, to thank for the master because he has worked 40 years. So the village people have come to thanks the teachers. While I was thinking of all this, I heard my name called. So M. Hamel calls Little France. It was my turn to recite. What would I not have given to be able to say that dreadful rule for the participles all through? So it is his time to say that participles. He is very scaring because he did not know anything, he didn't study anything. Very loud and clear and without one mistake, but I got mixed up on the first word and stood there. In the beginning itself, he made mistakes, so he stood there holding on to my desk. He just hold on his desk, my heart beating and not daring to look up. He didn't look up. I heard M. Hamel say to me, I want to scold you, little France. So M. Hamel says that I want to scold you, little France. You must be feel bad enough because see how it is every day we have said to ourselves, bah, I have plenty of time. I'll learn it tomorrow. And now we have come out. Ah, that's the great trouble with Alsace. She puts off learning till tomorrow. Now those fellows out there will have the right to say to you, how is it? You pretend to be a Frenchman, and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. But you are not the worst, poor little France. We have all a great deal to reapproach ourselves with. Here, M. Hamel says that you have postponed, you didn't learn well. We simply said that we will learn after some time, we learn after some time, but you didn't learn anything. You can't able to read or you can't able to write anything. If the German comes, they will mock at you. They will ask you, and yet you can neither speak nor write your own language. They will mock at you. This is shame on you. This is what M. Hamel said. Then M. Hamel says, your parents were not anxious. They are not interested you to to learn to have to you to learn. They prefer to put you to work on a farm or at a mills. They are trying to put you in the farm and the mills to work. So your parents also didn't have interested on you to learn something, so as to have a little more money. And I have been to blame also. Then M. Hamel says, I supposed to blame because the fault is mine also, because have I not often sent you to water my flowers instead of learning your lessons. So I send you to my garden to water my flowers. So instead of making you to study, I sent you to water my flowers. So this is my fault. And when I wanted to go fishing, and when Hamel wanted to go for fishing and he declared a holiday, did I not just give you a holiday? So M. Hamel is feeling bad his behavior. Then from one thing to another, M. Hamel went on to talk of the French language, saying that it was the most beautiful language in the world, the clearest, the most logical, that we must guard it among us and never forget it, because when a people are enslaved, as long as they hold fast to their language, it is as if they had the key to their prisons. So here he praises his mother tongue, French. He says that that French is the most beautiful language in the world and the clearest, the most logical. That's how he praises his own language, that he says the people to learn and we need to respect and we need to protect and we need to preserve our language. That's what he is trying, M. Hamel is trying to share to the people. Then he opened a grammar and read us our lesson. I was amazed to see how well I understood it. All he said seemed so easy, I think, too, that I had never listened so carefully and that he had never explained everything with so much passion. It seemed almost as if the poor man wanted to give us all he knew before going away and put it to all into our heads at one stroke. So here little Franz says that in now M. Hamel started teaching. So this lesson he is trying to easily understand, but before he couldn't understand. He didn't focus on learning. So this is what he says. After the grammar, we had a lesson in writing. So they are writing exercise now they are doing. That day, M. Hamel had new copies for us, written in a beautiful round hand. France, Alsace, they looked like a little flags floating everywhere in the schoolroom, hung from the rod at the top of our desk. You have to have seen how everyone set to work and how quiet it was. The only sound was the scratching of the pens over the paper because everyone is trying to write. Once some beetles flew in, but nobody paid any attention to them, not even the little ones, because this is the last class. So everyone is watching very deeply. So the beetles also came inside, but no one has paid attention to them, not even the little one. Also small children also didn't pay any attention to the unwanted things. They are focused on the learning things because this is the last lesson. Who worked right on tracing their fish hooks as if that was the French too. On the roof of the pigeons cooed very low, and I thought to myself, will they make them sing in German, even the pigeons? So little Franz is asking, the German people will ask a pigeon to cool in German language. This is what he is asking. Whenever I looked up from my writing, I saw M. Hamel sitting motionless in his chair and gazing first at one thing, then at another, as if he wanted to fix in his mind just how everything looked in that little schoolroom. Fancy, 40 years he had been there in the same place, with his garden outside the window and his class in front of him, just like that, only the desks and benches had been worn smooth. The walnut trees in the garden were taller, and the hop vine that he had planted himself twined about the windows to the roof. How it must have broken his heart to leave it all, poor man, to hear his sister moving about in the room above, packing their trunks, for they must leave the country next day. See, here Mr. Hamel have worked 40 years in one place. So he started one garden also, walnut trees and grapes he planted. So and his sister is packing his goods and they supposed to leave tomorrow's. So this is what they are trying to say. But he had the courage to hear every lesson to very last. After the writing, we had a lesson in history, and then the babies chanted their baby, be, bo, bo. Down there at the back of the room, old Hauser had put on his spectacles and holding his primer in both hands, spelled the letters with them. You could see that he too was crying. His voice trembled with emotion and it was so funny to hear him that we will wanted to laugh and cry. Oh, how well I remembered it, that last lesson. So M. Hamel is teaching history lesson, and the village people, they are very sincerely, they are started studying that they are primers in both hands. So on seeing that, the narrator little Franz says that I wanted to laugh and the same time I wanted to cry. He said like that. All at once the church clock struck 12. Then the Angelus, that means Roman Catholic people will pray in a day in 3 times. At the same moment, the trumpets of the Prussians returning from drill sounded under our windows. M. Hamel stood up very pale. Pale means a little scared in his chair. I never saw him look so tall. My friend said I, but something choked him. He could not go on. So Mr. M. Hamel is a patriotic person. He loves the French country as well as his motherland as well as mother tongue. So here now the Prussians is going to dominate. So he is worrying about the French language. That's why he couldn't talk anything. He was so sad. Then he turned to the blackboard, took a piece of chalk, and bearing on with his all might, he wrote as large as he could, Vive la France. That means long live France. Then he stopped and leaned his head against the wall, and without a word he made a gesture, means he signed to us with his hand. He showed his hand. School is dismissed. You may go now. So this is how this lesson ends. So we can learn that one thing through this lesson, mother tongue is very important, and also this is the time to learn our lesson. We should not to postpone. We should not to say that as like a little friend said, no, we will learn tomorrow, we will learn tomorrow, but there is no time will come. So my dear boys and girls, this is the time to learn and study all the things. Understand? So this is the lesson. I request all the students to read the textbook thoroughly and try to understand. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. And also I have given you 2 more questions and paragraph question. Kindly study and write in your assignment note. Thank you.